Hi there, I'm Angela Brown, and this is Ask a House Cleaner. This is a show where you get to ask a house cleaning question, and I get to help you find an answer. Today the show is a little bit different because I'm not the one with the answer, I am the one with the question. So I ran into a property manager who manages over 50 properties, and they're all high-end properties where people rent like $3,000 a week for a particular property that someone else owns. And so this guy just manages all the properties and he hires the house cleaners that come in to clean the house. So my question to him was, how do you find and how do you choose a house cleaner for the properties that you manage? And his answer was very interesting. He says, I run my house cleaners through a test, unbeknownst to them. And he says, I do a series of things inside the home that they're going to be cleaning because I want to make sure that they are thorough and that they do a really great job. So one of the things that he does when the house cleaner comes is he takes a cotton ball and he hides it behind the toilet. On the base of the toilet, there's a little knob. He hides it down there just to see if they actually get down there and they clean the toilet. Then after they leave, he sits on the toilet and he looks up in the corners of the room and he looks for cobwebs and he looks up at the light because people will be spending some time in that particular space. And so when the door is closed, are the backs of the doors clean? Are the corners of the floor free from dust and debris and hair and things like that? And so you would think that it's easy to just go in and clean a rental property because people come and go. But the truth of the matter is, people spending that much money, they do want a place that's equivalent to the home that they live in, right? They want to make sure that it's clean and tidy. And then there's the stigma that a whole bunch of other people have come in here and there are a whole bunch of other people's germs. So you want to go out of your way to make sure that you do an excellent job. After he sits on the toilet looking around the room, he goes down and he sits at the dining room table. Because when you're on vacation, oftentimes you will sit down and you will visit at the dining room table. And he looks up at the lights and he looks up at the corners of the rooms. He wants to make sure that the light bulbs on the chandeliers have been polished and that there are no dust or cobwebs on those lights. He wants to make sure there are no cobwebs in the corner. And he wants to make sure that there are no fingerprints or visible fingerprints or anything in the kitchen where these people are going to be spending the bulk of their time. Then he also does some other tests in the house to make sure that, again, the house is clean. He goes and he stands by the head of the beds and he looks up in the corner. Like if these people are lounging about and they're lying in bed and they look up at the ceiling, are there any cobwebs that they're going to see while they're in this space? So if you pass these series of tests that he puts out for you, and one of them is he takes a coin and he hides it underneath one of the mats in the kitchen. And if you picked up that mat and you cleaned underneath it, you would have found that coin. Very rarely do house cleaners ever put the coins back underneath the mat. They put them up on the counter or they put them in a dish or they turn them back into the owner or they leave them with their worksheet. And so it's a sign that, yes, I cleaned underneath this if that coin is missing. So there are a series of tests that you can do, but it's really important as a house cleaner to recognize the fact that sometimes customers are putting you through tests. I had a particular customer when I went to his house because he wanted to see if I would dust the blinds. He would always take the two little cords where you pull the blinds and the blinds go up. He would always take them and twist them like 5 or 6 times. And if I had pulled the drapes to open them or the blinds and I had cleaned those would have been unjumbled. And so if they were unjumbled and everything was put back the way it was supposed to be, he would know that I had cleaned the blinds. So there are weird things that customers do to check their house cleaner out, to just see if they are in fact thorough. And so as a house cleaner, I don't know what they all are. They're different for every customer, but there are tests. So if you want to keep your job, it would be easy, and I'll tell you a secret. Most customers are not creative enough to come up with different tests every week. And so once you find out what their test is, it's kind of a game, but once you find out what their test is, you can fix that at every single cleaning. Because if they're hiding coins under the mat, they're going to keep hiding coins. That's kind of what they do. They may have 2 or 3 different ones, but it's very rare that a customer would have 26 different tests for the house cleaner. And if they did and you were there for all 26 of the tests, guess what? You passed because you're still there, right? So for this particular property management, it was really an insight into how the customer views things and what they're expecting when they hire a house cleaner. So I wanted to share that with you. All right, that's it for today. So until we meet again, leave the world a cleaner place than when you found it.